Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right off the bat. Ignorance is expensive. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of ignorance where you don't know how to solve a calculus problem or recite the periodic table, though that might cost you a grade or two. No, I'm talking about the kind of ignorance that keeps you from reaching your potential, from living the life you were designed to live, from grabbing hold of the opportunities that are sitting right there in front of you, waiting for you to say, yes, I'll take that. Ignorance like that doesn't just cost you a few dollars. It costs you your dreams, your happiness, and your future. And I'm here to tell you today why that price is too high to pay and how you can stop paying it. You see, ignorance isn't just the absence of knowledge. It's the refusal to go get it. It's the decision to sit back and say, well, I don't know, and I'm okay with that. But let me tell you something, being okay with not knowing is like being okay with handing your paycheck over to someone else every week and saying, here, you take it, I don't need it. Knowledge is power, folks. It's the fuel that drives success. And when you choose ignorance, you're choosing to run on empty. Let's break this down a little bit. Think about the cost of ignorance in your everyday life. Maybe you've got a job and you're good at it, but you don't know the latest tools or techniques in your field. You figure, I've been doing it this way for years and it's worked fine. Meanwhile, someone else comes along, someone who's taken the time to learn, to grow, to adapt, and they zoom right past you. They get the promotion, they get the raise, they get the recognition, and you're left wondering what happened. I'll tell you what happened. Ignorance happened. You paid a price for not knowing what you could have known. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you've got to know everything. Nobody does. Even the smartest folks in the world don't know it all. But the difference between success and failure isn't knowing everything. It's knowing what matters. It's knowing enough to take action, to make a difference, to move forward. Ignorance is expensive because it keeps you stuck. It's like trying to drive a car with no gas, no map, and no idea. You might roll downhill for a little while, but pretty soon you're not going anywhere. Let me give you an example. I once knew a fella, let's call him Joe. Joe was a good guy, worked hard, showed up every day. But Joe had this habit of saying, I don't need to learn that new stuff. I've been doing my job the same way for 20 years, and it's good enough. Well, one day the company brought in some new machinery. Joe didn't bother to figure it out. He said, that's for the young folks. Guess what happened? The young folks learned it, they mastered it, and before long, Joe was out of a job. Not because he wasn't a hard worker, but because he chose ignorance over opportunity. That choice cost him his livelihood. Ignorance is expensive, folks, and Joe paid the price. Now let's flip that coin. Think about the people who refuse to stay ignorant. Think about the ones who say, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm going to find out. Those are the folks who win. Those are the folks who turn obstacles into stepping stones. They don't sit around waiting for someone to hand them success on a silver platter. They go out and get it. Why? Because they understand that ignorance is a tax on progress, and they're not willing to pay it. Let's talk about money for a minute, because ignorance hits your wallet harder than you might think. How many times have you made a bad decision because you didn't know any better? Maybe you bought a car without researching it, and it broke down a month later. Maybe you signed a contract without reading the fine print, and now you're stuck paying fees you didn't expect. Maybe you didn't invest your money because you didn't understand how it works, and now you're missing out on years of growth. Ignorance in those situations isn't just a mistake, it's a bill, and the longer you let it sit unpaid, the higher the interest climbs. But it's not just about money. Ignorance costs you time too. Time is the one thing you can't get back. You can always make more money, but you can't make more hours in the day. When you don't know what you're doing, you waste time fumbling around, making mistakes, fixing things that didn't need to be broken in the first place. Imagine how much further you could be if you'd taken a little time up front to learn what you needed to know. That's the thing about ignorance. It's a thief. It steals your time, your money, your opportunities, and it doesn't even leave a thank you note. So why do we let it happen? Why do we choose ignorance when we know it's so expensive? I'll tell you why. Because it's comfortable. It's easy. Learning takes effort. It takes discipline. It takes humility to admit you don't know something and courage to go find the answer. Ignorance feels safe because it doesn't ask anything of you. But let me tell you something. Safe doesn't get you to the top. Safe doesn't build a legacy. Safe doesn't change the world. If you want to live a life that matters, you've got to step out of that comfort zone and pay the price for knowledge instead of the price for ignorance. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Zig, I don't have time to learn everything. I'm too busy. I've got a family, a job, responsibilities. And I hear you. Life is busy. But let me ask you this. Do you have time to keep making the same mistakes? Do you have time to keep missing out on opportunities? Do you have time to stay where you are instead of moving toward where you want to be? You don't have to learn everything at once. Start small. Read a book. Ask a question. Take a class. Listen to someone who's been there. Every little bit of knowledge you pick up is an investment in yourself, and that's an investment that pays dividends for the rest of your life. Let's talk about relationships for a minute, because ignorance can cost you there too. How many friendships have fallen apart because someone didn't know how to listen? How many marriages have struggled because one person didn't understand what the other needed? Ignorance in relationships isn't just about not knowing facts. It's about not knowing people. When you don't take the time to learn about the folks around you, you miss out on deeper connections. You miss out on trust. You miss out on love. And that's a price nobody should have to pay. So how do you beat ignorance? How do you stop paying that high price? It's simple, but it's not easy. You've got to make a decision to be curious, to be teachable, to be proactive. You've got to say, I'm not going to let what I don't know hold me back anymore. And then you've got to take action. Don't just think about it, do it. Pick up that book, talk to that expert, try that new skill, fail if you have to, but learn from it. Every step you take toward knowledge is a step away from ignorance, and every step away from ignorance is a step toward the life you want. Let me tell you something else. Knowledge isn't just power, it's freedom. When you know what you're doing, you're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're not waiting for someone else to fix your problems. You're in the driver's seat. You're calling the shots. Ignorance keeps you chained up, but knowledge hands you the key. And once you've got that key, there's no limit to where you can go. Now I want you to think about your life for a minute. Think about where you are and where you want to be. What's standing in your way? Is it money? Is it time? Is it opportunity? Or is it ignorance? Be honest with yourself. If there's something you don't know that's keeping you from your goals, then that's the first thing you need to tackle. Don't let ignorance be the reason you don't make it. Don't let it be the excuse you give yourself 10 years from now when you're looking back and wishing you'd done more. Folks, ignorance is expensive, but knowledge is worth it. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. It's worth the sacrifice. Because when you invest in knowledge, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your family. You're investing in your future. And that's an investment that never goes out of style. So here's my challenge to you today. Stop paying the price for ignorance. Stop letting it rob you of what's rightfully yours. Start chasing knowledge like it's the most valuable treasure in the world. Because it is. You've got the ability. You've got the opportunity. All you need now is the will to say, I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I'm going to win. And when you do that, I promise you, the only thing you'll be paying is the price of success. And that's a bill worth settling. Thank you folks for listening. Now go out there, make ignorance a thing of the past. You've got what it takes. I believe in you, and I know you can do it.